There are about 40 colleges scattered over London, and these form the Federation, which is the University of London. Imperial College is one of the largest of these and specialises in science and technology, though we also have departments of social and economic studies, management science and humanities. We are fortunate in being in one of the nicest parts of London, a few minutes' walk from Hyde Park, 4 major museums, 2 main shopping centres, and of course easily accessible from all over London. There are plenty of attractions for music lovers. This famous college is right next to us, and their students join us for various musical activities, such as the choir and the orchestra. We can be among the first in the queue for the proms because the Albert Hall is also on our doorstep. And of course there are many venues for other styles of music. There are plenty of other pursuits too. This is Hyde Park. My first glimpse of the chemistry department was at their open day. I was in the lower 6th at the time, and I wanted to find out what a chemistry course at university was like. They hold these every summer, and there were school parties from all over the country.
My parents were a bit worried when I first came to London about where I would live, but when I told them that all students are guaranteed accommodation in their first year, they were a lot happier about it. At Imperial College we have 3 types of accommodation. There are the college halls right on the campus. There are the student houses about 10 minutes walk away. They are less formal and something more friendly than the halls because the groupings are smaller. A few students choose to live in the university halls of residence in Bloomsbury, about 20 minutes journey from the college. Here they mix with students from other colleges who are reading all sorts of different subjects. Personally, I started off in Mining House, where I met some friends with whom I shared a flat in Hammersmith in my 2nd and 3rd years. However, if students choose to live in the university halls of residence in their first year, they are still guaranteed a subsequent year in college accommodation.
My mother attended a provincial university and she enjoyed that very much. But being in London suits me better. This college has a really good reputation and that's very important to me. But being in London doesn't mean that the students are inhibited in any way as far as sports and hobbies are concerned. When you first come to college, one of the most exciting things is the Freshers' Fair, where all the different clubs try to attract new members. In my innocence, I joined 4, but later my tutor gently pointed out that there was studying to do as well. So in the end, I plumped for just one, the cricket club.
This department is very proud of the fact that it was the first institution in England to offer regular practical instruction in chemistry. That was back in 1845, when the department was known as the Royal College of Chemistry. And it was before all the big, well-established universities because they disapproved of science at that time. We've come a long way since then, but still feel that we provide a modern, chemistry-based course which meets the needs of today's society. In the 3rd year, the industrial firms send their personnel people here to look for talent. And when I took one of them to lunch a few weeks ago, the interviewer told me that employers can always tell IC graduates. They get on with the job. And this is really true. It's the result of so much experience in the lab. This student was a teacher in the Sudan, and her experience will be valuable back in Khartoum when her course finishes.
Modern laboratory work is not all synthetic chemistry, but involves a lot of instrumentation too. Students here begin to use spectrometers and other advanced equipment very early in their studies. They operate the instruments themselves and learn how to interpret the results. The application of microcomputers is also important. Here is a BBC Micro. It is being used to control a potentiometric titration experiment in the 1st year teaching lab. And look, it even plots the graph. We learn BASIC on these micros in the 1st year, and then in 2nd year we all learn Fortran on the big mainframe computer. I was really surprised to discover that all our chemistry students are encouraged to use these very large machines themselves. This is one of the organic chemistry labs. We learn some of the techniques from videos at our own pace before doing the experiments. The staff have developed quite a library of videotapes for this purpose. Although it's a great help to see the whole experiment carried out before we start on it ourselves, there are sometimes practical problems, so the staff are always there in the lab to help too.
The profs agreed to talk about the department, so let's see if he's in. I love this cartoon. All the other members of staff presented it to him when he got his Nobel Prize.
Professor Wilkinson, I really enjoyed your third-year lecture course on homogeneous catalysis and industrial processes. Has your work always been closely related to industry?
Well, during the last 30 years I've been working on organometallic compounds and complexes of transition elements. I think I can say that all the major industrial chemical and petroleum chemical industries throughout the world have been working along the same sort of lines, yes.
Do you think that chemistry is merely a tool used by industry, or that there are areas of research which are interesting in their own right?
Oh, there are certainly interesting areas in their own right. There's a continuum between academic and industrial chemistry. The major difference is that university research is essentially non-programmed. I mean, one plays the game as one likes it, whereas in industry they usually have specific objectives in mind.
Many students tend to be overawed by your reputation, and instead of approaching you after a lecture with problems, they use a certain inorganic textbook. Would you prefer to have more contact with the student body?
Well, there's absolutely no reason why students should be overawed by my reputation. If they don't come to see me, that's their own fault. My door is always open.
Professor Wilkinson, without any prejudice whatsoever, which do you think is the best chemistry department in the country, and why?
Well, I certainly like to think this is one of the best, not only in this country but in the entire world. And I think one of the things that makes our department unique for undergraduates is the amount of practical work we have in the laboratories.
Do you think students today show the same enthusiasm as students did when you were at Imperial College?
Oh yes, I don't think there's any difference in the interest or enthusiasm of students, but the major difference is that students these days have got many more tools, physical tools that they can use in the laboratories, and the level of chemistry is much more sophisticated than it was 40 years ago.
Much of the teaching is in the form of 50-minute lectures. This is Professor John Albury, whose main research interests are in electrochemistry. He's lecturing here about batteries to third-year students.
It was an invention of the Victorians, and a very good invention it was too. So much so that 10 years ago, the Energy Research Unit at Harwell prophesied that there would be no replacement of the lead-acid battery. They were wrong. Why were they wrong? Well, when we come back to look...
Now, where in this molecule do you think that the nucleophile here would react? Position 1, 2, or 3?
Position 1.
Yes, that's very good. And it will go at position 1 because that is...
This is another major feature of teaching at university. Small groups of students meet a member of staff in these tutorial sessions. At this college, every student has a tutor in each of the 3 major branches of chemistry, and one of these tutors also deals with personal academic problems.
Have a carbanion, this will then attack at this position to give the final product.
Why does it not attack at the other end of the epoxide if that's the least hindered side?
Well, that's a very good question. You're quite right that normally epoxides would attack at the least hindered position, as it did here.
A very good feature of this college is the wealth of libraries we have at hand. Naturally, a university student has a lot of reading and preparation to do, and it is very important to be able to find a nice, quiet place in order to do this. The building behind me is the Lion Playfair, the main college library, but every department has its own.
And this is the chemistry department library. All the libraries are open in the evenings too. These libraries liaise with each other and with the National Science Museum Library, which is also on our campus. We have special borrowing privileges there. And naturally, like any other university, we have our own bookshop.
Imperial College chemistry graduates are particularly valued by industry, and in fact a number of them in their earlier years take part in vacation training schemes arranged by the department. Well over 200 companies visit the college to recruit. Most of our graduates take a job straight away, but more than half are eligible to do work for higher degrees, and most of these do. These postgraduates are also highly prized by industry. The discipline of chemistry opens the door to a wide variety of jobs, not all of a chemical nature. On this wall we have photographs of some members of the chemistry department over the years. This was a particularly good year which produced Derek Barton and Geoffrey Wilkinson, who were both students at the time. Each has been awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry and each has been knighted. Many more of our ex-students hold top positions in industry and the universities. For example, the professors of organic chemistry at both Oxford and Cambridge are at present ex-Imperial College men.
Well, I hope that those of you who were interested in chemistry will now be enthusiastic, and that those of you who are destined to become chemists will aspire to be applicants to this college. Let me illustrate to you our admissions procedure. It begins with an application through UCA, and I should mention, by the way, that we will give you serious consideration whether we are first choice or last. If you look like getting an above average grade in chemistry and a good grade in mathematics as well as a third A level, then we will invite you for interview. During interview day you will be given a guided tour and taken to lunch in the refectory by some of our current students. In this way you'll get the necessary official facts, but in addition you'll get an honest and informal opinion from people roughly your own age. You'll also meet members of staff and learn about the structure of the course. We invite about 80% of our applicants, not only so that we can meet them, but also because we think it's important for them to see us before making their final choices.
Are there any additional subjects apart from chemistry that you can study?
Yes, all our first year students study ancillary mathematics, but in addition to that, single honour students can choose between physics or cell biology, which is an introductory course in biochemistry, or if you prefer a non-scientific option, you can do a course in European languages.
And what about in other years?
The third year of the course offers a very wide range of choice. Most of our third year students decide to specialise in one branch of the subject, organic, inorganic or physical chemistry, and within that branch they can select from a number of lecture courses. So no matter how your interests have developed in the first 2 years, you have an opportunity to pursue them in depth in the final year. 1 or 2 of our students do part of their third year abroad. And in addition to chemistry, there is an ancillary in the third year which you can select from a list which includes mathematics, management science, biochemistry, computing science, geology, or if you wish to, one of the courses which is offered by our Department of Humanities, which could include further study of a language.
What about project work? Does the course allow for this?
There's an element of project work even in the second year of the course, but it forms a major part of the third year assessment. The department has an outstanding reputation for research, and we feel that it's important to involve our undergraduate students in this aspect of our activity. So you would do a third year project working alongside a member of staff or postgraduate students. The department made a video film a few years ago about 2 of these projects which were carried out in the inorganic section, and I hope you'll have the opportunity to see this.
And does the degree depend just on final exams at the end of the third year?
There are no finals in the third year as such. There are examinations in the first and second years which count towards your final assessment, but even then there's an element of continuous assessment in that there is no examination in practical work. But in the third year, lecture material and practical work is tested on a continuous basis.
Two students each year are chosen from the third year chemistry department at Imperial College to undertake a 6-month research project at ETH Zurich, which is the equivalent of Imperial College in Switzerland. In my case, I was put in a research laboratory undertaking research projects. I also enjoyed the aspect of living in Zurich and occasionally skiing. The scheme, I would say, is very successful and is hoped to be extended to EEC countries, particularly France and Germany. And in my case, I've gained an industrial job at BP Chemicals.
One thing which we hope our students will learn while they are with us is how to cope with being busy, and not only with chemistry. There are plenty of opportunities to expand the mind in other directions. The Haldane Library, for example, is devoted to non-scientific subjects, both fiction and non-fiction. And there is no reason why students shouldn't get all the physical exercise they need. We have a sports centre here on the campus with squash courts, swimming pool, rifle range and gym. And we have rowing facilities close by on the river and a sports field elsewhere in London. And there is music and drama in abundance. We have a wind band who play regularly to us at lunchtimes throughout the year. The highlight of these performances for me is the 1812 overture with the real bells from the Queen's Tower and very realistic cannon effects.